Welcome to Friday Night Mod Review. I'm Hegemony, and today we're taking a trip out to the cornfields to cut down some plants in a totally safe field with no scarecrows. Wait, the Vs Zardy mod is a Friday Night Funkin' mod based on the horror game Zardy's Maze. In this mod, boyfriend and girlfriend trespass into Zardy's maze and have a rap battle with Zardy, and then think it's a smart idea to go back, except this time they battle a Zardy and Cable Crow tag team. This mod was regarded as the hardest Friday Night Funkin' mod when it first came out, which I disagreed with because Witty was the only competition at the time, and I won't lie, I had a harder time with Ballistic. But Zardy was given an update quite a while ago, and Foam said we should hit it up for our next review, so play the damn disclaimer. Everything we say in our reviews is subjective and our opinions. You don't have to agree or disagree, and we encourage you to make up your own opinions. Nothing we say is intended to offend or discourage people, so don't go around spreading hate. If there's anything you think we missed or want us to talk about, then leave a comment. This review is going to be split into multiple parts: art/animation, music, theme, charting, and overall, all rated from 0 to 5. This way we can break down mods into parts and speak on them individually. Quick reminder that none of us are experts, and this is just what we have observed. Zardy's not the most complex looking guy. His design is quite simple and doesn't really warrant all too much, considering he's a scarecrow. A pretty nice touch is how they turned his hoe into a microphone that he uses to rap battle against boyfriend with, a smart way of implementing his main weapon into his Friday Night Funkin' version of his design. As for Cable Crow, he's a little more funky looking, and I'd say closer to an actual scarecrow than Zardy is. Moving on to their animations, they're decent, but definitely not the best. Zardy's idle isn't all too good, just consisting of a couple frames that are very obviously looped, but his directional animations are quite swingy and have some cool poses. Cable Crow's idle is better, swaying back and forth with no noticeable loop, but still very few frames. His directional movements are really sharp and elastic, and I definitely feel like that suits him well.
The art for the mod is pretty simple. As Hegemony said, the characters' designs aren't all complex, and it goes into the rest of the environment as well. There's not much of a realistic look, but considering how the original game was designed to look like that of the old low polygon games circa the PS1 period, I can give it a pass. It kind of works in the mod's favour as well, considering that you're not going to be focusing on the backgrounds all too much since your eyes are going to be glued to the arrows anyway. It's just about enough to be visually striking, but not enough to take away the player's attention from the gameplay. My real problem, however, comes in with the animation. I know that it was in the best interest of the mod creators to make the animations good, but some parts seem kind of untouched in polish or maybe even lazy, but I don't like to say that. Again, going back to what Hegemony said, Zardy's idle animation is really lackluster in its fluidity, just having him move like a malfunctioning robot in a way, constantly shifting like he's broken. My major example for the animation problem would be with what goes on in the background for Bushwhack. The clouds, girlfriend being caught in the massive root, and the crops all move the exact same way and direction with each other, and it really sets me off and kinda ruins my playing experience. But the thing is, it's not even that much of a problem to solve as well. Just have the clouds have a separate animation loop for themselves where they can move from one side to the other correctly, and have girlfriend move in the opposite direction to the crops, and you could even keep her on the same animation loop to the crops. It's so simple to fix, so it just kinda disappoints me of why a little more work couldn't have gone into it. However, it's not all bad. Cable Crow's animations themselves are very fun to look at, fitting his character very well. He's fast, unruly, and he never backs down, barely giving boyfriend a break. Zardy's directional animations are also very cool looking as well, with some very dynamic poses to make him look very menacing. The art is decent for what it is, but a lot more work could have gone into it just to make it that much better. I give the art and animation a 3.
The two songs in this mod are very hard-hitting. Listening to the songs feels like being chased in the woods by a tribal man with a spear. The relatively slow start to Foolhardy is a nice opening considering how the song's intensity starts only 30 seconds in. Zardy's voice is sort of mysterious, sounding really nice and holdness, and despite being quite faint, Zardy manages to dominate what I refer to as the second chorus of the song thanks to the incredible synergy of the raging instrumental with his voice. As for Boyfriend, I think he has a very unique voice. I've heard a lot of different boyfriends, and I don't think I've heard many, if none, that sound like this boyfriend. It's definitely a breath of fresh air going back to Foolhardy after having heard hundreds of Friday Night Funkin' songs. Foolhardy has a sense of progression, with duets being thrown into repeated parts of the song to give them more flavour, and it makes the build up to the final stretch more valuable. It's like me and the tribal man with a spear are running around in circles, except on the second time around I tripped over a rock. For the final stretch, Zardy turns his opacity down and goes into a non-stop flurry of notes with some amazing sounding duets. Foolhardy as a song is packed full of strong sounding duets, good progression, and a wild instrumental that combines it into one stellar sounding song.
Foolhardy sounds like one of those amazing films that people hold so high, and Bushwhack sounds like the better sequel. Think Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, Terminator 1 and 2, hell, even Shrek 1 and 2. Anyway, you get the picture. Foolhardy actually sounds like it has the traditional structure of a song with verses and choruses, if you can call them that. Not many other FNF songs that I've actually listened to have had that kind of structure, most of them just going from a beginning to end type deal with only a few exceptions like some songs in the Tricky mod. It's very unique in its sound and does give Zardy the sense that he's not a force to be reckoned with, but of course Boyfriend does anyway, because what else does he do? Bushwhack is basically the better Foolhardy. It's a lot harder, having a thrasher and more hard-hitting instrumental. It's objectively better, having a lot more packed into it, and can give a better listening experience through its back and forth motif that it carries on from Foolhardy. It's a lot faster, especially in Cable Crow's part where the BPM actually bumps up over 50, and because of how full it is, it's also a much stronger song, having more of a listening grip on the viewer as it throws new sequences, new vocals, and even a new character into the mix every few turns. The two songs are really satisfying for such a small mod. They prove that you don't need an entire damn f***ing album to have your listener have a good viewing experience. Have the small amount of songs that you make feel full, well done, and not to overwhelm or underwhelm your audience. They're the perfect fit for the mod's type and stand out really well just for themselves.
Music is deserving of a strong 4. Both Foolhardy and Bushwhack are amazing songs with not very many flaws. Cable Crow is cool, but I wish he had more of a unique voice rather than sounding like an extension to Zardy, and I also kind of wish Boyfriend kept his old voice for Bushwhack.
The theme for the mod is basically a Friday Night Funkinized version of what the original game ensued, with Boyfriend making his way and bumping into the titular Scarecrow, and after that, basic chaos ensues. It's simple for what it is, but doesn't really need to be more than that, and honestly I can respect it. Playing the original game as well, being an extremely difficult horror game, this mod is an extremely difficult mod, again just being a Friday Night Funkinized version of what the original game was supposed to be, basing itself off the original game's ideas, notions and such. Pretty simple, but pretty respectable, and it makes sense.
So, the tribal man with the spear won't stop chasing me, and that's basically the entire mod. Okay, enough about the tribal man with a spear. Theme isn't really present in this mod as it is in others, and not in a bad way, it just kinda doesn't need one. The closest thing I can relate to the theme is that typical horror type thing where some sort of uncanny monster hunts you down and it's the fear of the unknown or whatever. I'd say it's done alright-ish. Zardy and Cable Crow being scarecrows might trigger a fear with some people who don't like scarecrows, or maybe people don't like corn mazes, I don't know. The lighting is kinda eerie and stuff, blah blah blah. My rating for theming is a 2.5, but this won't affect the final score. Both Foolhardy and Bushwhack aren't very technically advanced. In fact, they are both relatively simple with no doubles and not very many conventions thrown into them. Playing these charts feels like one big endurance test, and while it's still fun, I much prefer longer songs to be more interesting, my best example being Narcrius Snowmelt from the Camellia mod. Overall, patterns roll off the fingers well and the mini jacks are cool, although I'm not a fan of some of the placements, they get a pass. Thinking from an endurance perspective, I can see why many people perceived Foolhardy as harder than Ballistic back in the day. If you didn't have enough stamina to last through 4 minutes of relatively consistent difficulty, you would probably end up struggling at the final stretch and losing, comparatively to Ballistic, which goes from tough to impossible within a matter of seconds. The nature of these two songs would make it hard to rechart without being an unbalanced mess, so if I could suggest any changes, it would be to include doubles at the start of hold notes and trying to throw in doubles at appropriate parts of streams. I'd say charting is worth a 4. All things considered, these songs did a decent job at creating a fun and challenging chart. There's nothing particularly wrong with them, but I'd like to see something more interesting out of longer and tougher charts.
Versus Zardy definitely has its own foot in the door as one of the cornerstone mods in the FNF community. It was considered to be the hardest mod to exist when Foolhardy by itself was topping the mark back in the early period, and had a really satisfying update when Bushwhack came around about half a year later. The mod is really enjoyable, a good endurance test and can leave you accomplished after you've beaten it. I find myself coming back to the mod again and again just to play a simple, hard and enjoyable mod not chock full of gimmick notes and overarching stories. This mod will definitely hold a close place in my heart and will always be one of my favourites.
I completely agree. This mod is a, I guess it's a 3.8. Yep, that's it. Fade out slowly.
I had loads of fun making this review, to be honest. It was really nice to just pour my loving heart out into a video, and I hope you all enjoy this talk as much as we did. Alright, I'm gonna go find this man with a spear that Hegemony keeps speaking about, and hopefully not have him stab me in the chest. Alright, see ya.
Wait a second, who let you do the outro? Yeah, whatever. Do the like, subscribe, comment, and share ritual. Bye. Sorry for being late on upload.
Subscribe or else.